immediately he realized, and in the book Simple Chess, the author says that the most difficult thing about a space advantage is realizing that you have a space advantage. Like I probably wouldn't even realize I have an advantage in space, and would have allowed my opponent to get rid of one of his minor pieces, get rid of his bishop. But the player of the white pieces realizes that black has a space problem, so now the bishop can't go here without getting captured, can't go there without getting captured. He could go here, but white's going to go here, and that would just be asking for trouble with the bishop. So this bishop is going to have a difficult time developing. So both players castle, and black brings his knight out, and sure enough, white plays that move, so now the bishop can't go here. And he brings his rook over here, and this rook comes over here, and he plays this move here, and whoops, put the knight here. And now, surprisingly, white trades off the rooks. I say surprisingly because you would think that if the other guy has a space problem, why are you helping him out by trading off a rook? Well, as I said at the beginning of the lesson, it's not the queens and the rooks that have the space problem. They can always get to an open file or a half open file. It's really the knights and the bishops. So he doesn't mind trading off a rook. And so now what happens next is he brings his bishop out here, and black brings his bishop there. And now it looks as if all black has to do is go queen here and rook here, and he solved the space problem. But unfortunately, if he did that move, white would just chase the queen right back. And you can't block with the bishop because that would lose a piece. So black tries the next best thing. He says, well, how about if I bring my queen here, and now I'll go bishop there. And I'll get my bishop out like that. But white has an answer to that. He goes pawn up, chasing the knight. And now he goes knight here. And what he's saying to black is, go ahead and solve your space problem, but then you're going to have a worse problem, because black could have gone knight takes the bishop. But white would not go queen takes knight immediately. First he would go knight takes the knight check, and then he would capture back. Okay, black would get his bishop out and solve a space problem, but now he has a king safety problem. Look how, do you like that king position for black? So that's usually what happens, is that the player who has a space problem has two choices: either solve the space problem and have bad pawns, or continue with the space problem. So what he does is he goes knight takes the knight, bishop takes. Now the queen's attacking the knight, so the knight comes back. Now it's very important to keep this bishop off that square, so the knight comes here to keep the bishop out. The knight attacks the bishop, and now the queen can't get out, and if the queen can't get out, the rook can't get out. And now you can see how white has a big advantage. You see how, look at the difference between this rook on an open file and that rook, which never even moved. All right, but still, it's even material. So it looks like maybe black can survive this, but not really, because what happens now is he wants to bring this queen to this square and the rook there, but he doesn't have time for it, because what would happen if he brought his queen here? How would white win the game, win material in this position? With tactics. Do you see the tactical threat that he has here? Involving pins. This pawn is pinned, so that gives you a big hint. So is this pawn really guarded?
Mm-hmm.
No, he can just take it. The pawn can't capture back, and if the queen decided to capture the bishop, then the queen would capture, and you would be down a queen for and a pawn for a bishop, plus you're probably going to get checkmated very quickly here. All right? So black doesn't have time to do that, so he has to get out of the pin, so he moves his king into the corner, and now he's getting ready to play this move. But what white does next is called vacating the square. What happens if you vacate? If I don't pay my rent at the beginning of the month, the landlord's going to say to me, you have to vacate the premises. What does that mean if he tells me to move? Yeah, you got to get out of here. You're not paying the rent. So white says to the knight, I want you to vacate that square because I want the queen to go there. So he brings his knight here, and black brings his queen here. He's getting ready to bring that rook over, but now the queen goes to the vacated square, and once again, that would lose. How would white win now? Once again, this pawn is pinned. It's pinned diagonally. So is anybody guarding that pawn? He would just take it. And now we have the rook, the bishop, and the queen all aiming toward that square. Black would be losing this game. So he still doesn't have time to get his rook out. So now he has no choice but to play there. And now he solves the space problem. But look at the...
It's open now.
Yeah. So he went from bad to worse. In other words, he finally gets his rook out, but his king position is all smashed up. And white says, oh, no, you don't. I'm not going to let your rook into the game. And realizing that if he goes rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, this is a losing endgame. Eventually, these pawns will all get captured. At the end of it all, black has to retreat his rook. So he retreats his rook over here. He's trying to get some play. Pawn takes the pawn. Bishop takes. The knight comes to this powerful square, and now black loses a pawn. But the rook says, finally, I'm in the game. And this bishop has to move. And when the bishop moves, I win the knight. It looks like black has a good plan here. If the bishop moves out of the way of the rook, well, the bishop will just take the knight. And yet white has a very clever move. Rook here. Why would rook takes bishop be bad? How would white win the game? One move. Checkmate. There's actually two different ways you can checkmate here. Can you see one of the two checkmates, Abdi or Effort? Look at the king and look at the knight and the rook and the bishop. How would you checkmate black in one move?
Rook to G8.
Right, rook to G8 is one checkmate, but another checkmate is also knight takes F7 because the bishop is guarding that square, the rook is guarding the G file. So the poor rook, it looks like he's finally getting into the game, but the bishop has to take the knight, and the bishop gets away from the rook. And now black says, well, finally, I'm attacking that rook. For sure that rook has to move. Well, guess again, the bishop goes here check, and now black has to resign because why can't the knight take the rook? That would be illegal because the bishop would get the king. And that knight's going to get captured by the pawn on the next move, so black resigns the game. But you can see how it all started with not enough space. He didn't have enough space for his pieces. And that can be, that's all you need. I mean, but, as I said, the author of the book points out that the most difficult part of having a space advantage is to realize that you have a space advantage and to try to keep the other player from getting enough space by trading off pieces. You want to avoid trading off knights and bishops as much as possible, or say to him, you can trade off knights and bishops, but now your king position is going to be smashed up. So that's basically the lesson. So you guys want to play, or no? Don't want to play chess? I can show you another game if you want to see another game. Let me show you a game that I played, which is very similar, because not only do I teach my students to read, or